I told you, they're coming to take your life. What's going on, everybody? Devil's Advocate here. Long time no see. I hope everybody had a good holiday. I apologize in advance. I think I apologized before, but I'll apologize again. I have fallen off the radar. I haven't been making videos like I usually do because I had to spend some much needed time with my family. Now, with that said, I think I got a good video. I think I have a redeeming video for the audience today. Now, this video is in relation to something I've been talking about for a long time. I've been talking about this for over a year. So this has to do with all this whole globalization thing, right? And, tracking people and all that other good stuff, right? All that other good conspiracy theory stuff, right? And a lot of people were like, if you don't want the vaccine, don't get the vaccine. If you don't want the vaccine, just say no, blah, 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 blah. We have a choice. We're Americans. Americans have rights, right? Not according to the state of New York, you don't. So listen, I said a long time ago that there was a lot of suspicion surrounding the whole COVID-19 vaccination process in general. Like what is the idea? What is the idea behind pushing this mass vaccination? Because we've never done that any other time. For much more serious viruses and illnesses in the past, we've never done that. So why are we doing that now for a virus with a, 99.7% survival rate? Why are we doing that now? Why are we pushing this mass vaccination now? And here, I don't think a lot of people even seen this. Assembly Bill 8416. What is Assembly Bill 8416? I'm glad you asked, because it seems like nobody's talking about it. I haven't heard anybody say anything about it. But we're going to go through this. And just in case you don't have time to listen to me ramble about what's in the contents of this bill, I'll give you the Cliff Notes. The Cliff Notes suggest that the state of New York should put into place detention centers for people who are not vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine. And furthermore, if you're within those detention centers and still refuse to get the vaccine, that they will just take you to court and get a judge to court order you to get the vaccine. That way, if you refuse, it becomes a criminal charge. You think I'm joking? You think this is in another country? No, this is right here in the United States. In the second most crazy state, behind California, the state of New York. So let's dive into this. Let's go ahead and read this. All right. The New York State Senate, Assembly Bill 8416, relates to the removal of cases, contacts, and carriers of communicable diseases who are potentially dangerous to public health. So listen to that. I'm going to read that again. Relates to the removal of cases, contacts, and carriers of communicable diseases who are potentially dangerous to public health. Removal. Keep that in mind, okay? Okay, sorry, work. All right, so state of New York. Now, pre-filed January 6th, 2021. Now, I'm telling you, this is all contingent. This is all contingent on a Joe Biden victory. I'm telling you, they are waiting for this man to get inaugurated, put into office, so they can start rolling out all this crazy bullshit that is going to change the landscape of America for good. But again, let me just go ahead and read it to you. All right, I think I got time, so bear with me. I'm going to just read this so that maybe you can just play it and listen in the background so that you don't have to read it, because it's not too long. So I think we've got the time to go ahead and read into this. All right, introduced by M. of A. Perry, read once and refer to the Committee on Health. An act to amend the public health law in relation to the removal of cases, contacts, and carriers of communicable diseases who are potentially dangerous to public health. The people of the state of New York, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1. Public health law is amended by adding a new section 2120 to read as follows. 2120A. Removal and detention of cases, contacts, and carriers who are or may be a danger to public health. In other orders, the provisions of this section shall be utilized in the event that the governor declares a state of health emergency due to an epidemic of any communicable disease. But we all know that this is all founded on COVID-19. Number 2, upon determining by clear and convincing evidence that the health of others is or may be endangered by a case, contact, or carrier, or suspected case, contact, or carrier of a contagious disease that, in the opinion of the governor, after consultation with the commissioner, may pose an immediate and significant threat to the public health resulting in severe morbidity or high morbidity, the governor or his or her delegee, including but not limited to the commissioner or the heads of local health departments, may order the removal and or detention of such a person or a group of such persons by issuing a single order, identifying such persons either by name or by reasonably specific description of the individuals or group of being detained. Such person or group of persons shall be detained in a medical facility or other appropriate facility or premises designated by the governor or his or her delegee, in complying with subdivision 5 of this section. Now, in summary, what that is saying, it says a communicable disease. So what they're doing, this bill is just laying the foundation, is laying the landscape, because we all know this is founded on COVID-19, right? But they're using specific verbiage in here for future illnesses, for future diseases, so that they can use this at any point, right? It's to keep the ball rolling. So that way, if it's not COVID-19, it'll be something else. It'll be something else that they can use to try to keep people under control. All right. Detained. And what it says detained in a medical treatment facility or other appropriate facility. That is gray area terminology for just some kind of detention center. Could be some kind of makeshift prison. You never know, right? Number 3, a person or group removed or detained by order of the governor or his or her delegate pursuant of subdivision 2 of this section shall be, explanation, matter in italics, underscored is the new matter, and the brackets is the old to be omitted. Okay. All right. So detained for such a period in such a manner as the department may direct in accordance with this section, notwithstanding any inconsistent provision of this section. A confirmed case or carrier who is detained pursuant to subdivision 2 of this section shall not continue to be detained after the department determines that such person is no longer contagious. Okay, so you're not contagious anymore because you got your vaccination. B, a suspected case or suspected carrier who is detained pursuant to the subdivision 2 should not continue to be detained after the department determines with the exercise of due diligence that such a person is not infected with or has not been exposed to such a disease, or if the infected with or exposed to such a disease no longer is or will become contagious after you get a vaccine. A person who is detained pursuant to subdivision 2 of this section as a contact of a confirmed case or a carrier shall not continue to be detained after the department determines that the person is not infected with the disease or that such the contact no longer presents a potential danger to the health of others. A person who is detained pursuant to the subdivision 2 of this section as a contact of a suspected case shall not continue to be detained if, after the department determines, with the exercise of due diligence, that the suspected case was not infected with such a disease or was not contagious at the time of contact when was exposed to such an individual, or after the department determines that the contact is no longer presents a potential danger to the health of others. All right, we're going to go ahead and skip through something because a lot of this stuff is just kind of like reestablishing and reaffirming itself just by reformulating the string of words here. Let's skip to B. Be detained in a manner that is consistent with recognized isolation and infection control principles in order to minimize the likelihood of transmission and infection to a person and others. Pretty much a forced isolation. Let's just put you in isolation cell, like forced isolation. That's what it's saying. When a person or group is ordered to be detained pursuant to subdivision 2 of this section for a period not exceeding 3 business days, such person or member of such a small group upon request may be afforded an opportunity to be heard. An opportunity to be heard. Oh, this just sounds like going to jail and waiting to speak to the judge. If a person or group detained pursuant to subdivision 2 of this section needs to be detained beyond 3 business days, they shall be provided with an additional commissioner's order pursuant to subdivisions 2 and 8 of this section. When a person or group is ordered to be detained pursuant to subdivision 2 of this section for a period exceeding 3 business days, and such a person or member of such a group requests release, the governor or his or her delegate shall make an application for a court order authorizing such detention within 3 business days after such request by the end of the first business day following the Saturday or Sunday or legal holiday. So pretty much what they're saying is you can demand to be released, right? But if they don't want to release you, the governor or whoever he appoints can just tell the judge to make it a court-ordered mandate that you stay detained. You getting worried yet? I'm telling you, if this passes, I'll go, you know what, let me just finish this first. Make a court order subject to 3 business days, holiday, which application shall continue to request for an expedited hearing. After any such request for release, detention shall not continue for more than 5 business days in the absence of a court order authorizing detention. Notwithstanding the foregoing provisions, in no event shall any person be detained for more than 60 days without a court order authorizing. Hold on. Notwithstanding the foregoing provisions, in no event shall any person be detained for more than 60 days without a court order authorizing such detention. So pretty much what they're saying is that they can keep you, they're trying to find a way to make it, lawful to keep you detained for up to 60 days without a court order. The governor, his or her delegate, shall seek further court review of such detention within 90 days following the initial court order and authorizing detention, and thereafter within the 90 days of each subsequent court review. Man, they pretty much said it's like saying, I'm up for parole, right? And then they start reviewing the case, be like, "No, man, you're not good. Go back to your cell." So they're putting it they're putting the pieces in place and outlining this in such a way that if you will find yourself in the detention center, right, a contagion detention center, they can keep you there indefinitely. until you follow their treatment protocols. Let's keep going. The removal or detention of a person or group issued pursuant to this subdivision for review of the continued detention of a person or group, the governor or his or her delegate shall approve to the particularized circumstances constituting. Oh, belay my last. Circumstances constituting necessity for such a detention by clear and convincing evidence. Sorry, my eyes are getting really dry right now. I'm dehydrated. A copy of any detention order of the governor or his or her delegate issued pursuant to subdivision 2 of this section shall be given to each detained individual. However, if the order applies to a group of individuals and it is impractical to provide an individual copy, it may be posted in a conspicuous place in the detention premises. Any detention order of the commissioner issued pursuant to the subdivision 2 of section set forth. Okay. A description of the circumstance or behavior of the detained person constituting the basis for the issuance of the order. The less restrictive alternatives that were attempted and were unsuccessful and or less restrictive alternatives that were considered and rejected, and the reasons such alternatives were rejected. A notice advising the person or group being detained that they have a right to request release from detention and including instructions on how the request should be made. A notice advising a person or group of people being detained that they have a right to be represented by legal counsel and that upon the request of such a person or group, access counsel will be facilitated to the extent feasible under the circumstances. You know what that sounds like? Doesn't sound like you're going to get a whole lot done, with lockdowns and stuff, right? A notice advising a person or group of people detained that they may supply the address and or telephone numbers of friends and or relatives to receive notifications of the person's detention and that the department shall, at the detained person's request and at the extent feasible, provide notice to a reasonable number of people that the person is being detained. I'm going to skip around a little bit. Advise the person or group of people being detained and whether or not they request release from detention, the governor and his or her delegate must obtain a court order authorizing detention within 60 days following the commencement of detention, and thereafter must seek further court review of the detention within 90 days of the such order. We already covered this to a certain extent. I'm trying to figure. There's something in here. All right, here we go. Let's see. All right. In addition to the removal or detention orders referred to in subdivision 2 of this section, and without affecting or limiting any other authority that the commissioner may otherwise have, the governor and his or her delegate may, in his or her discretion, issue and seek enforcement of other orders that he or she determines are necessary or appropriate to prevent dissemination or transmission of contagious diseases or other illnesses that may pose a threat to public health. Now, we've already established during 2020 that a lot of our politicians and lawmakers have used COVID-19 as an excuse to do a lot of outrageous things, right? It was all for the safety of the people. A lot of crazy things. So, you listen to that and then you make of that what you will. It's pretty much putting into place a protocol where they get free reign of authority on just literally controlling the population to do as they see fit. Okay, continuing. I just lost my place. Including but not limited to orders requiring any persons who are not in the custody of the department to be excluded, to remain isolated or quarantined at home or at a premises such as a person's choice that is acceptable to the department under such conditions and for such a period that will prevent transmission of the contagious disease or other illnesses, to require the testing or medical examination of persons who may be exposed to or infected by contagious disease or who have been exposed to or contaminated with dangerous amounts of radioactive materials or toxic chemicals, to require an individual who has been exposed to or infected by a contagious disease to complete an appropriate prescribed course of treatment, preventative medication, vaccination, including directly observed therapy to treat the disease and follow the infection control provisions for the disease, or to require an individual who has been contaminated with dangerous amounts of radioactive materials or toxic chemicals such that said individual may present a danger to others to undergo decontamination procedures deemed necessary by the department. Such a person or persons shall, upon request, be afforded an opportunity to be heard, but the provisions of subdivision 2 through 11 of this section shall not otherwise apply. This act shall take effect on the 13th day after it shall become law, effective immediately. The addition, amendment, and/or repeal of any rule, regulation of the implementation of this act, its effective date, are authorized to be made and completed on or before such a date. Okay. All right. Sorry, I kind of like I stumbled through that a little bit. Like I said, I'm my eyes are dry, my throat is all messed up, but so there you have it, folks. You don't see COVID-19 specifically referenced in this bill. But it's not hard to deduce that when you read this is exactly what it's founded upon, right? So think about when they're trying to pass this, right? They're trying to pass this bill, right? And the Biden administration already said that they're going to roll right back into more nationwide lockdowns. And it took a couple of, red state governors to say, hey, look, you can try to enforce whatever, federal lockdown you want to. We're not doing that over here. But I don't think I think that's going to be, bad for a lot of states, though, because there's only a couple of states that seem to have the balls to stand up to the ridiculousness and say, no, that we're not doing that. We're going to be smart. We're going to do things the smart way, and then we're just going to continue business as usual. We're not going to go back into this nationwide shutdown thing again. What we got going now is good. We're going to leave it alone. But I predict most states aren't going to do that. I think if another federal mandated lockdown goes into place, most states are going to fall in the line, blue or red. All the blue states are going to do it, and I think a majority of the red states are going to do it. And what you're seeing here, that's being proposed here in the state of New York, don't be surprised if a lot of other blue states start trying to push similar legislation through to make it so that you have to be vaccinated. Think about this for a second. This is all, like, at what point do people start to understand that this is not about protecting people anymore? This is not about your protection or about your health or about your safety. This is about controlling the public. What they say and what they do. What they can and what they can't do. When are people going to start recognizing that? It's an exercise in compliance. They'll do stuff like this. And I said this before, they're going to keep pushing the envelope a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further, just to see what they can get away with. I said, how far can we push this envelope and people are just going to accept it? I don't know. Try something else. Tell people that if they don't get the vaccine, we're going to put them in the detention center. There's nothing they can do about it. And guess what? I predict that if this passes, there will be a mass exodus out of the state of New York. But I also believe that there will be a lot of people who will stay in the state of New York. And then, like everything else that they've allowed themselves to be subjected to, they will continue to allow themselves to be subjected to an even more insane level of control. Walk in the streets, get randomly stopped. Hey, you got your vaccination card on you? Well, let's do a little rapid test on you. Oh, you're infectious. Oh, yeah, I heard your grandmother had COVID. You went to go see her the other day, didn't you? Hmm. We might have to. I think we got to send you to the detention center. I think we got to detain you, man, because we don't want you spreading that around. It's all an act to make everybody to get everybody to take that vaccine. And I don't even think it's about the vaccine anymore. You know, I heard all kinds of stuff about nanobots being in the vaccine and stuff, and that there's things in the vaccines that are gonna, once you get it, there are things that can be activated within that vaccine that allows people to be tracked and traced. I don't know about all that. I can't confirm that. I mean, it would make sense because that was definitely technology Bill Gates was talking about. But I don't know that's what's going on right now. But what I do know is that this is an exercise in compliance. This is an exercise to see where politicians are trying to feel out how far they can push the American public before they say that is enough. I'm not doing this shit anymore. And unfortunately, a lot of people can be pushed right into a little cage, shoved them right into a little box, and they'll willingly go in there because they think that they're doing the right thing. But that's all I have, guys. That thing that's real. That's real. That is here in America. Like I'm surprised. I'm not surprised. But you won't see this. This stuff is not on the news. Nobody's gonna talk about this kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that just kind of slips through the cracks, and all of a sudden one day it's a law. It's a local law, and then people wonder why they're getting snatched up off the streets and put in detention centers. And then that probably won't even make the news once that starts happening. It's gonna take alternative media to start covering stuff like that. But anyways, that's all I got. I'm gonna let it go. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. This is more informational than anything. I just want to kind of get that out there. I'll leave a link to this article or to this bill in the description below. Remember, take care of yourself. Be smart. Stay safe. Think. Use your brain. Until next time, peace.